Well, hello, everybody. I'm about to leave for the station to interview somebody I really respect and admire. And it gives me great gratitude to know that people can come to my house and I can just meet them, get to know them a little bit, and eventually have them on the show so that you can meet them too. I have this amazing musician on my show today. His name is Tommy Jackson, and he comes from North Carolina and Virginia. And when he first came into my house, he and Melissa were a little bit late in the evening because they'd run into trouble all the way from his dad's dog, November, who they're keeping, getting sick, to the traffic jams. And yet they arrived in such calm and gentle moods. I thought, who are these people? What are they all about? Anyway, Tommy Jackson's a singer-songwriter, and his music is rooted in honesty, grit, emotional connection. He blends folk and indie rock and Heartland Americana. His songs, well, they just go right alongside singers you already know, like Tom Petty, Willie Nelson, Dave Matthews Band. Music for people who've lived a little and felt a lot. They're so calm. Melissa and Tommy were calm and gentle the whole time they were here, and it was 3 nights, so it's wonderful. He began gaining very good attention when he was named as Artist to Watch in 2025 by the Rolling Stones, United Kingdom. That was a pivotal moment in a career, but it was built on persistence rather than shortcuts. And as Vermonters or anyone else watching this, you know, persistence is the only way to get from point A to point B without having to double back. His songs explore resilience, love, and I've seen how he loves Melissa. So, I mean, the guy's sincere. Self-reckoning, which is something we all have to come to grips with eventually. And authenticity over the fad of the day. Recently, he's released an award-winning album. It was produced by Joe Kinte, who I don't know, but everybody in the music world knows him very well. And Joe Kinte is an award-winning producer of music, so it's a good match. The song that made him a hit originally, Tommy wrote and sang "I Love You, But." And that was number 1 on iTunes in the worldwide genre chart. I can't believe these people come to my house and share themselves with me. So enjoy the show. Enjoy the interview. I can't wait to have it. It's going to happen in about an hour. And I am totally lucky. I open my door and in walks the world. And they teach me so much and they show me so much about what the potential is for these young people. And it's inspiring. So enjoy the interview with Tommy Jackson. And we'll talk about Melissa too. And I'll find out how the doggy November is doing. I'm a lucky girl. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet. Blow rockin' Robin, 'cause we really gonna.
Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McEwen, your ever-loving hostess. And, there's a little interview that I'm going to do today, but there's a preliminary introduction that you should see because there's just so much about this man that I hope I remember to ask questions that are proper, because you can go way off the beaten path. He's got so many varied interests in life, but he's terrific. His name is Tommy Jackson, and you'll hear some of his music, and you'll get to know about Tommy, about his beautiful wife, Melissa, and about their doggy, November. Okay, hello, Tommy in North Carolina.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
We're doing very well, thank you. And I have a question. You're in Mount Airy, or just outside of Mount Airy?
Yeah, thereabouts. Mm-hmm.
And what makes Mount Airy so famous besides yourself?
Oh, well, of course, there's a couple things. Most famously is the Andy Griffith Show. And Also, there's a really nice granite rock quarry here where a lot of granite comes from. So, got
Well, I'll
those
tell you
two
the,
things. But of course, most famously is Andy Griffith.
the good old Andy Griffith Show. Da 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 da.
The Andy Griffith Show.
Well, that was one of my favorite shows ever. And the granite quarry, not competitive with Vermont or any other granite state, but I live next to Graniteville, Quebec. So I guess we're all in the same boat.
Yeah,
Which is-
yeah.
Which is noisy, when they're working in a quarry, pretty hard. Now you've got some construction going on at your house, well, down below.
Right. Yeah,
So-
hopefully it won't be too noisy, but I think it sounds like I went and talked to them, so I think they're aware, but you might hear a concrete saw every once in a while. It sounds
It's
like
all right.
They're taking a break though.
Oh, that's very considerate of them. Thank you for going down to tell them that. Now, Tommy,
Yeah, they
your
seem
music.
nice.
We'll talk about that preliminary conversation. Your music. You're nationally known, and you're internationally known, and you've got #1 hits and things like that. But it's the way that you write that inspires me because of the authenticity. And I love one quote that you gave me, and it's like, for people who have lived and felt. So,
Right. Yeah.
what's your process?
That's,
It's a silly question. It's a linear question, but what gives you the most inspiration?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's the big question with art, isn't it? Is what's your biggest inspiration?
Yeah.
I think everybody, in their own way, if they decide to pursue art, draws from their own life. It's hard not to do that. A lot of my stuff comes from relationships that I have and connections. So, like one of the songs that I wrote is called "I Love You, but ... and the rest of the line is I don't have to like you right now. So it says I love you, but I don't have to like you right now, which means, once you get into a relationship where, the honeymoon's over and, you're in the thick of it, you're going to do some things and your significant other is going to do some things that you don't necessarily like, but you love them more than you don't like them in that moment. So you accept them for who they are. So that's kind of an example of one of the inspirations that I draw from.
Said for better or for worse, and I still feel the same. I'll get over it now that I know you're okay. You made it home, and that's what matters anyhow. She said I love you, but I don't have to like you right now.
It's a lot of fun. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's so much fun to be an artist," and I do agree with that. It's really a lot of fun to be an artist, but of course, there's always the sides that nobody really knows about, which is when you're kind of in your deepest, darkest state and you're alone and all this stuff, and those are places that you need to draw from also. It can't always be sunshine and bubblegum and rainbows, but I try and keep it in a positive way and deliver a good message to people, but I try and be authentic and describe what it is that I'm feeling, and hopefully even negative songs have a way of connecting with people
Oh, yes.
that are going through the same things. So every once in a while you can reach out to somebody who's going through a hard time with a song that is about a hard time that you've gone through, and people can find connection in the fact that somebody else is going through it and they're not alone in something like that also.
That reminds me of a conversation I had with Art Garfunkel.
Well, tell me about that. That's amazing.
Well, it's just what you just said. And the most amazing thing, in 1970, during the summer, we were living just across the lake from where he stayed with me. And I was alone for the summer with my mom, except my dad would come up at night. And Simon and Garfunkel came out with Bridge Over Troubled Waters that summer. And I only had a hi-fi. I had a hi-fi at the cottage. We had nothing else. A radio that picked up one station and a hi-fi. And of course, I played my music all day long. Mom was in the Papa's Otis Redding and, Simon and Garfunkel. But my mother, who was an invalid and mostly blind and almost completely immobile and so tiny, like 55 pounds, and she'd say, "Oh, play that Bridge Over Troubled Waters again, Heather." And I'd say, okay. And I played it all summer until the record. I still have that album, but I'm sure it's worn thin. And then in August, she said, "Mom, I'd like that played at my funeral." And I looked at her, and she'd been pronounced dead many times over my lifetime. And I said, "You're not going to die." But 3 weeks later, sure enough. So I asked the funeral director, who was a friend of my dad's, if they could play Bridge Over Troubled Waters at her funeral. And they did. And when I play it on her birthday, and I play it on Mother's Day, and my kids do too, even though they never met their grandmother. And on Mother's Day years ago, in 2017, I was in LA, and I read my manifest for first class, because I worked first class in JetBlue. And Arthur Garfunkel was on my plane. So I sat down, I wrote a long letter to him. And when he went up to the lab from his seat, I said, "Sir," and I said, "You don't have to read this now, but I hope you read it someday, because it's all true." And those lyrics from that song gave me my mother, because that's what the message was from her to me and my brother. "I will lay me down."
That's great.
And so he stayed in the lab an awfully long time. And when he came out, he went like this. And that, very...
I liked it, huh?
Well, it touched his heart, but it's a very Jewish thing to do.
Wow.
We do that.
Oh.
And he put his hands on my galley like this, and I put my arms beside him. And we just, we just talked about what it's like to write something, and you never know where it's going to go. You never know who it's going to touch. You never know the translation. Because if I write "the sky is blue," somebody might take that and completely turn around my meaning. The same with his songs. He just sang that when he didn't write it, but the message got through to me. And we talked for quite a while about the risk we take as writers. I don't write songs, but other things. And when you sign your name and press send, how are people going to perceive and dissect that and absorb it, digest it, and understand it? They're going to do it their own way from the culture of their own mind. But what that song did was give me back my mother. And I'm in a choir, and last night, lo and behold, we're singing Bridge Over Troubled Waters, we're rehearsing. I could not stop crying, because I saw my mother saying those words to me. So the power you have as a songwriter could give a little girl a parent who's lost too young, or bring peace to somebody who's going through great trauma. So the power of a songwriter is beyond belief. And I applaud you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The power of music is pretty amazing sometimes. Some of the songs that I heard when I was just a little kid, it's funny how they change meanings over time too. Like maybe you hear a song when you're a teenager, and then you take a break from it for a while, and you come back to it in your late 20s, and it means something completely different to you, and it still takes you back to that. Yeah, and it still takes you back to that same place, but you've grown up a lot since then, and you have a different perspective on life. And
boy, that's
isn't that interesting? Like you just you come back to that song, and then all of a sudden it's just as powerful as it was, but it gives you a new perspective, and you're in a different cycle, and you're in a different season in life, and it just means something different to you now, and you still love it. It's just different now. It's
It still evokes the mood you had. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. It can evoke the mood that you had at 14 or 15. But it's true, the definitions of the tune are completely wrong compared to what they were back then. Is there one particular song that moves you now in a different way than it did in the past?
Oh man, let's see. You know, I'm trying to think of a song that I listened to when I was a young kid, but I guess a good example, like yesterday, I was just like I'm in an interesting part of my life where I can always tell when I'm going into a different cycle because things mean things that I've forgotten about. I start remembering, and I start going back to them. Like for some reason, like when I was a kid, my favorite book to read was Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And I just love that book so much. I thought it was the greatest book in the world, and I still do. And I just love it so much. And it's like one of the only books that made me laugh out loud for the first time while I was reading it. That doesn't happen very often. And you know, you can only have that feeling every once in a while. Like you have to give something that you're attached to that much a break so that you can come back to it and you forget about it, and then when you come back to it, it's new again. And so when I was around 16 years old, I read Huckleberry Finn for the first time and I loved it. And then I went through a whole bunch of life, and probably in my late 20s, for some reason I picked it up again, and I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. I just felt like it was new again, and I was getting ready to enjoy reading it. So I read it again, and sure enough, it was just as good as it always was, but I had a different perspective on it. And I'd learned a little bit more about Mark Twain, and I'd lived a little bit as an artist, and it kind of made me wonder who Mark Twain was, as opposed to back then where I was just wondering who Huckleberry Finn was, things like that. And now, I'm headed into I can kind of tell I'm headed into a new place because I just picked up Huckleberry Finn again, and I'm reading it now. I'm on page like 50, and it's amazing. I'm loving every single minute of it, and I know I always love reading. I know I love the book that I'm reading when I can't stop thinking about it when I'm not reading it. So,
you want to go?
Yeah.
I'll let you go now. It's been a really nice talking
after
with you.
this, I'm gonna go. Yeah, after this, I'm gonna go read Huckleberry Finn.
Well,
and I'm gonna go through it really fast, and I'm just gonna love every single minute of it. So I think that's kind of a good example of a piece of art that I read. I had when I was younger, and then I went through different parts of my life, and now I'm reading it again, and I'm finding different things about it that I didn't even see when I was reading it for the second time. So,
well, Tom Sawyer's the manipulation of children to children, eh? Oh, paint this fence.
Right.
It's a fabulous. Well, he's a great writer, and he's been through pain he was through a great deal of pain in his life too. I think that makes a great writer, a great creator, a great composer, someone who's lived life and had some pain. Now you come from oh God, yeah. I always feel sorry for people who go through life saying life is perfect. I couldn't be happier, and I'm so lucky. I've never had any problems, and I think, when it comes, it's going to hit you so hard because you haven't built up the muscles to withstand an onslaught of an adult problem. And
oh man, yeah, you're totally right about that.
Yeah, but living vicariously through music is another way to do it. When you hear somebody else's pain. Given the political situation, wait a minute, before we get to that, we might not even get to that, but you're entering you're on a different level. I call these wake-up moments plateaus. You're on this plateau, you're really comfortable, and then all of a sudden, boom, you read Huckleberry Finn again, and you find yourself on this one. And you're going to this one right now because you're on the ascent. So what new things will be happening in this next incarnation of your present day life?
Yeah,
Do you know?
that's an interesting question, isn't it? Yeah. I can tell you what I hope will happen.
Then it will.
I hope, yeah, I hope that I can, be figure out who I am even more, and in the process connect with people. Like, I think that's the more, like, no matter what kind of art you do, those are the things that are most important, is being authentic and figuring yourself out, and then connecting with people. I think those
Okay,
are the
connecting
two.
with people in your audience, or connecting with people as your friends. You're in 5 groups, aren't you? You're in 5 bands.
Yeah.
And you travel even to Mexico. You take the entire orchestral part down with you. How many people in that band? It's a phenomenal band. And
Right.
Melissa was saying it's a little pricey to get that band here. Because I was saying,
Yeah.
I was thinking, Wednesdays on the waterfront in Newport, Vermont. That would be awesome, but I don't know.
Man, that would be awesome. Melissa sings in that band every once in a while. She's a really talented singer too. I don't know if you.
An attorney and a
we did talk
musician.
about it.
Yeah, well, your next plateau, whatever it might be, connecting with people. Now, when you're, I paint and I write, so my life is pretty boxed in. I'm perfectly happy, but there's very little connection with the external world, except people I meet in my Airbnb or in choir or just at the grocery store. But, nothing
On your
really.
show,
I get inspired by people, but there are not enough of them in my life now to actually look at them and write their story. So what do you do to get out there? Because when you connect with an audience, they're not your bosom buddies who you take home and talk life over with, so with whom you talk life over. So it's not the same kind of connection as a buddy. Now you have Melissa, but how do you expand beyond that circle that isn't professional?
Yeah, there are tiers to your social networks, aren't there? I guess the person I see the most in my life is Melissa. We see each other every day, of course. And then there's also my family. I have my mom who lives close to me, and then I've got 2 brothers. I've got an older brother and a younger brother, and they live. One of them actually lives close to you. He lives in New York in Saratoga Springs, and then my other brother lives in outside of Seattle, Washington. So
That's not exactly
There-
next door.
right, but I try and see him every year. So that's kind of another tier, and then we've got the people that you see regularly every week. Like coworkers, band members, and people who are you've hired to help you with a vision that you're trying to bring to life. And then you also have fans, and when it comes to fans, that's a strange word, fan, isn't it? Like,
It's short for fanatic.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking about that, like how fan is a short word for fanatic, and when I think about fanatics, I think of crazy people, and
Yeah.
and I don't think that's the case with fans. So I kind of wish that there was a different word for that, but I can't really think of one off the top of my head. But
Admirers.
something like that. The people that you've connected with.
Yeah.
Like last weekend, I did a show, and some of at this point I would call these people friends, because I know them by name. I know them. They travel and they wait after the show to talk. So
Yeah.
I once I finish on stage, I have other things that I need to do before I can run out there and talk to everybody, and they were waiting for me, and it was an amazing thing to feel like I'd connected with them in a way where they wanted to actually sit and wait for me so that they could talk. And these are the
And what
same
do they
people
talk
that came
about? Sorry,
up.
what do they talk?
Yeah, just things like what they're getting ready to do, like birthdays, and they're having a party and they invited me, and just things like that where I think sometimes that gets missed when people think of artists having millions of fans, and these days, the internet has connected so many people that you can have a smaller fan base and really connect with them. Like you can really connect with people, especially if you have a smaller fan base, which is what I kind of enjoy. I see some people that their goal is to have 1 million people that love them and adore them, and that seems like something that
That's popularity,
that you,
not friendship.
yeah. Yeah, and it seems like something you can't really plan out either. It's like you can't really say I'm gonna have 1 million people follow me. It's like if you do the work and you really do connect with people. Like you can create really powerful, potent art that connects with people, and if you can get it in front of enough people, they will do the work for you, and the word of mouth will spread, and people will really connect with that piece of art that you've created. And once you do that, they call that, if you don't go any further than that, they call that a one-hit wonder, right? And then, but what you have to do is you have to keep on coming back and doing more and more. And they say that the greatest gift for doing good work is the opportunity to do more work.
You can't pierce my frozen will. I found another love in a wind that chills. Maybe we will meet again, but you won't see the shape I'm in. 'Cause you can't break a cold, cold heart. No, you can't break a cold, cold heart. No, you can't break a cold, cold heart. No, you can't break a cold, 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 cold heart.
Once you make that piece of art that connects with people, and the best thing that you get after that is the opportunity to keep on doing it again. So that's kind of how some of my favorite artists, they'll stick around for 30 years. Is they but the question is how do you do that? Because it's so exhausting sometimes. Is how do you keep on coming back for more and more and keep on doing it again and again and again?
I have a
And,
theory
and
about
don't-
that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, my theory is that you have to be yourself and you have to enjoy it. It's like you have to, in order for you to keep on doing these things, you have to be authentic. You have to enjoy yourself, and you have to enjoy
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Enjoyment is contagious. And if you're happy, happiness is contagious. And if you're in front of thousands of people and they can connect with you on any level of any song or any note that resonates with them, I believe it's invisible, but I do believe there is a real connection, intangible, but like an umbilical cord. And they get their nourishment through the umbilical cord of your music and your words. When you say you write from life, I write from people I meet or animals I know. I don't write about me, very rarely, if any, ever. But it is me because it's my perception of them. So it goes through the Heather filter, before it comes onto the page, because that's my impression. And boy, you get a lot of feedback. You're in 5 bands. Now, could you tell my audience, please, exactly what they are? Because they go from one genre through another, into another, all connecting.
Yeah. Oh, I like to think that they connect. So the one that I'm doing right now is my original project where I write songs, and one of the songs reached the #1 spot on iTunes. It's the song I talked about before called "I Love
Yeah.
You," but in the worldwide music genre, it was there for 13 hours, and it was a really cool thing. We to see something like that happen was really neat, and you know, I every day I'm writing more music for that, and it's something that makes me feel most like myself and most like how I can connect with people, and that's
Yeah.
through original music. But
Speaking of
but really,
connection.
the other
The other bands.
oh right, so the other
5
bands. So I live in a tiny town outside of Mount Airy called Elkin, North Carolina, and there's a theater there called the Reeves Theater, and once a month I play there in a band called the Reeves House Band, and what that is we play a different show every month, and they all have ideas behind them, and most of the time those ideas are a specific artist. Like we've done
John Prine?
Beatles, and we played John Prine. Well, that's actually a different band, but I'll get to that one.
Oh,
There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. But so that when we played John Prine, that was an offshoot of this band. Like in the Reeves House Band, we did an offshoot, and we did a whole night of John Prine music, which John Prine is one of my favorite artists of all time. Like I think of him as kind of the Mark Twain of songwriting, honestly.
he really is.
Yeah, and he's got humor, and he's got depth, and his lyrics are amazing.
He's got angst. He's got anger. He's got humor.
Right.
He did it all.
And he's great.
Um,
And the way that worked was we in the Reeves House Band, we did a show of all John Prine music, and so in a way you are right. The Reeves House Band, we did a John Prine show, but the musicians in that band, which comprised of guest musicians, 8 in total, which was a really big band. We had 8 people in the band, and but they all had so much fun, and we liked it so much that we decided to keep on going with this idea of playing John Prine music. And we took the band, and we went on. We started playing in different venues besides the theater where we usually played, and we wound up playing in a bunch of interesting places. We played in Tennessee at a festival called Cave Fest, and when I say Cave Fest, it's exactly what you think.
what are the acoustics like in a cave?
Right, we played inside a cave, and you know it's interesting. Like you would think it would be really boomy in there and echoey, but you know the acoustics were actually really good in there. It was a pretty
Really?
big cave, and I think
Well, you know,
they,
if the
they
sto-
had some sound treatment.
If the stalagmites and
but-
stalactites, are properly placed, I think it would be
Right.
pretty good because it's not all absorbed.
It might have been naturally just perfect, because really like the sound in there was really good, and the sound they hired a lot of great sound technicians, and the equipment there was really good. And one of the interesting things about playing in a cave that I never would have thought of is that year round it's the same temperature. It's always 70 degrees no matter what.
Fantastic.
And not only that, but it's humid in there. So when you're playing your instrument, you look down and there's condensation on your instrument, and you keep a rag right next to you so you can wipe it off while you're playing. And I'd never experienced that before. And we've played there twice so far, once a year, and this year we're getting ready to do it again. And I look forward to it every year. It's a lot of fun.
What's the name of that band?
So that band's called the Tree of Forgiveness Band, and it's
Wow, where did you come up with that name?
so John Prine's last album was called The Tree of Forgiveness. So we decided that's one of my favorite albums of John Prine's. Is his very last one, and it's got a lot of depth to it, and you know, it's him at his best. You know, like really being himself. And you know, all of his albums are great, but this one has a really special thing to it. It feels organic and authentic, and you know, the instruments are really done. You know, the sound technician did a really good job with it. So yeah, it's named after his last album, which is called
Okay.
Tree of Forgiveness.
It's a fantastic name, especially nowadays. And that's we've got the Wreath band, and we've got the Tree of Forgiveness band. That's 2 out of 5. What's next?
Right.
What's the other one?
So there's so let's see. There's a band. I don't know if you've ever heard of the genre of music called yacht rock. YACHT. So it's like a big yacht, you know, like being on a boat. Basically, what that is smooth rock from the 70s and 80s. So we'll play the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan, and we'll play the Hall & Oates, and you know, a bunch of stuff like that. And you know, it's an interesting thing that's happening right now, because that music, it's a very specific music. It happens from 1978, technically 1978 to 1982 is what yacht rock is. And the reason that is because in 2008 a YouTube video came out where members of the Doobie, it was a fictionalized documentary where members of the Doobie Brothers and members of Hall & Oates, along with Kenny Loggins, had a battle where they were talking about talking smack to each other, and at the very end, one of them says, "You don't know what you're talking about. That's just what a fool believes." And they get in close on him, and they have him do a revelation, and he realizes that that's the perfect name for a song, and he goes and writes the song "What a Fool Believes." And,
I know where it could
What a
fit in
Fool
right
Believes-
now.
right, yeah. And basically what that is what spawned the yacht rock genre, and it became a rebirth of that music from that time period. And
I love that music from that time period. I was alive
it
then.
reached the interesting thing that happened was it reached a whole other demographic of kids in 2008 that were exposed to that music. And then you had the people that were like 12 to 15 years old when they were listening to that music in the 70s, and you had a perfect storm of these people coming together. And so now that type of music is just skyrocketing. Everybody is loving it, and it's a lot of fun. Everybody just has a blast at the show.
I'd like to say all music is cyclic, but we've lost the big band era. We've lost a lot of it. So when any of it comes back from an era that I enjoyed, I'm happy. When you say Loggins and Messina, that goes back, way back for me. And you weren't even born then, but
Right,
we've established our age.
So everybody in that band, but I'm the youngest person in that band, but everybody in that band talks about how they remember when that came out. And then I'm in the band, and I'm like, I came to it through the 2008 YouTube video.
Well, you're now in a perfect position to bring it to the next generation when we're 6 feet under.
Well, yeah, it's happening. Like, so right now there's an artist. His name's Charlie Puth, and he's in Los
P-O-O-F?
Angeles, and he Puth. And
Okay.
he just sang. He sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam?
And his next album is all in the yacht rock style, and he's got Kenny Loggins on the album with him, and it's having another resurgence. It's just
And
that he's
there-
keeping it alive, and he's the next generation.
And there's something else that Lady Gaga did. She brought in one of the older musicians, Tony Bennett, to sing with her.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought, the woman is extremely kind in so many ways, and that was evident when she was performing with Tony Bennett when he was going in through, Alzheimer's or dementia, I'm not sure which. But she brought out something beautiful for your generation to see what you can do when you respect from where you came. And if you could bring anybody to your stage who you grew up watching or listening to, who would it be to do a duet?
Man. A duet?
Yeah.
Man,
Or a tour.
I would love to, yeah. I would love to. I wish Tom Petty was still around. He's one of my favorites of all time, I think.
The Heartbreakers.
His stuff was really, yeah. And his solo album from the '90s, Wildflowers. I think that shaped me probably more than any album. That's probably my biggest influence, I would say. But there's, that's the longest. I don't know if he's the biggest influence, but he's the longest influence. Like,
I would say for a lot of
around the
people.
longest for me.
Now, we talk about difference in our ages and difference in so many things, but music can bring everybody together. And I believe that it can heal the world. In the time of Dylan and Joan Baez and Woody Guthrie and then Arlo, they had something to say. And it wasn't so much about how it can affect one person who had a similar experience or 1,000 people who had a similar experience and could be brought to feel it again or to get over something because the song took them to a healing place. They started a movement, or they literally backed up a movement for peace and rebellion. Both, I think, are necessary in the evolution of every generation. Whether it's just rebelling against your parents or rebelling against a society that you don't approve of or of which you don't approve, anything at all. But music is a great catalyst for the genesis of a movement. What do you see lacking in today's music to meet that end?
The thing about these days, which is different than before, is that anybody can pick up a guitar and put themselves on Spotify and call it a song, and they can do whatever they want. There's no as far as in regards to being able to give it out to the public, there's no gatekeepers. All you have to do is pay a small fee, and you can put it out there. There are gatekeepers out there, good and bad, to make sure that the good stuff gets out there and the bad stuff doesn't. And in a way, you and I are gatekeepers in a way too, where
How?
if something if something doesn't hit us or we don't like it, we just ignore it. And that's kind of the worst thing that you can possibly do for an artist is ignore them. You can hate them and you can love them. Both of those things are fine, because it gives them a place to it puts them on a pedestal and lets them have a message that you're listening to, bad or good.
Yeah, agree or disagree. It's a message.
Yeah.
It makes you think,
Yeah,
agree or disagree. You have to exercise some brain cells, either way.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that you can do, or the best thing, depending on what your goals are, is to not give something any any
Fuel?
any fuel at all. If you really want something to of course there's exceptions to the rule. like when, like for example, like I think artists are a reflection of society. You know, they don't really have a choice in what they say. They're reflections of what is going on in the world. You know, they see something and they filter it through themselves and then they put it out. So in that regards, people who start a movement, you know, it's something where they're in the right place at the right time, and they some of them don't even have a choice. Like, you know, I think Bob Dylan had a gift. You know, like there's no denying that. But he was
Yeah.
also in a place where, you know, there was just no choice. Like he had to say, he had to speak his mind, and you know, and his mind was a reflection of everybody else. You know, like things that had been told to him, he was taking in and putting out in his own way. And it just so happened that, you know, his way was very poetic and very potent and very powerful.
No, I know. I think music and theater are the two most powerful things for the average person. We can
Yeah.
watch it, we can
Stirs
hear
up-
it, we can participate, and
it
we
stirs
can
up so many
feel.
emotions.
Yeah, every single one.
Tell me my story and bring me back. And I remember all the good times that were in. Remind me useless and fading it all, but the more I live, the more it seems like gold to me. Gold to me.
So that's 3 bands we've got out of the way here. What comes next? The 4th one.
What is the 4th one? Do I? Oh yeah.
So too many bands, so little time.
So this is kind of in it's kind of in order of, you know, so like we said, you know, Melissa and I, we together, we have a band where I play the accordion and she sings in French, and we play not necessarily all in French, but we our band is in the style of 1920s jazz from France. So we'll play like Django Reinhardt kind of style, and you know, we'll choose songs in that style. And we don't write any music. I've kicked around the idea of writing a little bit of music, but for the most part, we choose music from the 1920s. And
Where did you come up with that passion? I mean, let's tell our audience who Melissa is. Melissa, I had the pleasure of meeting when I met you, and a very petite, quiet, gentle killer of a lawyer, right?
right.
And you've been married 5 years. You've been together 10. Is that right? I think it's going to work out.
She would probably yell at me because I'm not good with dates, but yeah.
That's all right. She loved you for many other reasons. I saw you on the
Yeah,
couch.
I've got other good things
And she
about
had her feet up on your lap, and you were rubbing her feet after snowboarding like fools all day long, 3 days in a row, hitting all the trails, hitting all the glades at Jay Peak. And
Oh my gosh,
for
yeah.
Southerners, you're doing pretty darn well. And then I've seen your wedding
Oh, yeah.
pictures, gorgeous. And I saw pictures of you two in the mountains, and also some pictures of Melissa when she was on top of some kind of very strange and foreign mountain that she'd climbed. And I'm thinking, these two never stop. How did you meet each
that's-
other?
Oh, that's a funny story actually.
It's actually more interesting to me than bands.
Yeah. So Melissa, before she became an attorney, she was an opera singer. So she went to school and studied opera and she was a soprano, and she was into class. She was classically trained, and she loved Broadway musicals. And for a while, I have since retired from Broadway musicals, but I used to be a music director, where I would be the person who would teach all the songs to the singers so that they could perform them, and then I would be in the band playing the live music while they were performing.
You were in the pit.
I was in the pit. I was a pit guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So Melissa, there was a show that I was hired for, and I was in charge of auditions, and Melissa and I had run into each other before in other shows, and she decided that she was going to audition for this show, which was Mary Poppins, and
Of course.
yeah, and which is perfect. Like it's right up her alley. And I was kind of a fish out of water on that one. I'm not classically trained. I do my best, but when it comes to classical music, which Mary Poppins is, kind of based off of, it's in that classical music and Broadway kind of style. I was kind of fish out of water, and she was the expert on that one.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was in the judge's chair and she was in the audition chair. So she was auditioning, and as soon as she started singing, I immediately wrote down on my piece of paper, I said Mary Poppins, because I knew that she was Mary Poppins. She had the lead role. It took me 5 seconds to figure that out.
And then right after that, I will marry her.
Yeah. As she was leaving, I was like, there's something special about this girl, and I didn't know what it was. And then for about 6 months of the run of that show, we kind of got to know each other, and then we went to a baseball game after the show was over, and everything just went from there. Been happy ever since.
Yeah. Which kind of ball game did you go to? Baseball?
Oh yeah, baseball.
Well, no wonder you fell in love. Baseball's so boring. You had to get to know each other a little bit better than that. It's like,
yeah. Well,
did you get to first base?
Yeah. Ooh.
Sorry,
Touche.
Melissa. That's just a little baseball joke. I didn't mean. Look at my face going red. Oh my God!
Good.
Sorry, I couldn't get.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my
Anyway,
God,
that's a wonderful, wonderful romantic story. I'll have to buy season tickets up for the Montreal Expos or something if they still exist somewhere.
That's a very now that I'm talking about it, it feels very like American. Go to a baseball game and do a Broadway show.
It's so funny because when my children became Canadian citizens, I took them up to Montreal, my hometown, for 2 years of getting to know my culture, which is so very different from the American culture. First of all, they spent the first year learning how to apologize in 2 languages. And then I had them made into Canadian citizens. They were born in the States. But I don't know anything about baseball, except that my son and daughter know everything, especially my son, who played it and was wonderful. But I said, okay, we're going to go to a Montreal Expos game. It's just up the road. Well, we had to walk about 4 miles to get to where they play it now, where it's close to the Botanical Garden, Olympic Stadium. It used to be Jerry Park when I was growing up. And all I can remember about becoming a Canadian citizen for them was taking them to a baseball game and walking in. And I had the same impression that, who's that wonderful comedian who loves baseball so much? I'll think about it. But he walked into the stadium.
Yogi Berra?
Pardon? He wrote 700 Sundays.
I was going to say Yogi Berra.
No, he wrote 700 Sundays. He's a fantastic comedian. He was in City Slickers, and you think I can't remember his name, but I can see his face. It'll come to me tonight when I don't need to know.
Was he in The Princess Bride also?
Billy Crystal. Kelby just yelled out Billy Crystal.
That's what. Yeah.
He walked in.
He's also in The Princess. Yeah.
Yeah, he walked into his first baseball game with his father, with whom he only had 700 Sundays in his life. Very poignant book. And he saw the green of the stadium, and he couldn't believe it. It was his whole world after that. And that's a little boy's take on a baseball stadium, which I find wonderful for all you American boys who just love it so much.
Well, the funny
and
thing about
Melissa
that is
too.
I was more of a soccer guy. They call it soccer in the U.S., but football everywhere else. And so I got into soccer, but now the World Cup's coming to the U.S. and
Do you
I'm
think
pretty
so?
excited about that. But I mean, I would imagine it is.
Some are talking about boycott. You'll have to write a song about that if it happens, okay?
But, right?
The boycotting of, but
We'll see, yeah.
you made number one in UK. Was it Rolling Stone UK? You made the number one. You were named number one. So when
It was a top 10 list, and I think I was that number 5 or number 4? I can't remember which one it was, but I was just honored to be mentioned. Honestly, so Rolling Stone, to me is like the holy grail of music magazines.
yeah, always was.
Yeah, like growing up in high school, like I would read all the articles and see what's going on, and there
It's
was
the People
never,
magazine
there was never
with talent. Sorry.
right, yeah, yeah,
But-
and good writing, like the
Very
articles
good
are
writing.
amazing,
It's up there with GQ for writing. I mean, the editor of GQ, the previous editor, I would get that magazine just so I could read his editorials because they were so well written. And Rolling Stone was always like that, well written.
Yeah.
I respect it.
I just love, I mean, to have somebody like Hunter S. Thompson come from Rolling Stone and turn into what he was, I think, that in itself is just an amazing thing. So
Hunter Thompson.
I grew up with Rolling Stone. I loved it, and so now being in it's an honor. And
Of course.
I'm happy. I'm happy to have
Are
my
you
name in there for sure.
And then you can also have your mortal remains blasted into outer space and be right up there with Hunter Thompson again.
Right? Yeah, in a cannon. Yeah.
Yeah,
that'd be
awesome, right? Actually, I had a friend who put her husband's ashes in a cannon on her property. He was an abusive guy, and she sent out invitations to everyone, come and help me blow to hell. And my gosh, she did. And
Well, I
years
guess
later,
you can make it a positive or a negative thing.
I love Vermont for
Well, I
that
mean-
reason, We're not
I mean, it's
attacking.
positive that-
We're not
Yeah,
attacking
that's
another country.
positive
We're
for
just
her.
blowing your husband's ashes to hell. I mean, go for it. And anyway, she too has passed, but was not blown out of a candle when she passed away. But anyway, that was 4 bands, and the jazz one with Melissa just blew me away because the 20s. Where did you come up with that? I mean, I have not even heard that music in decades.
Oh, so all of these bands when they start, they start from kind of a serendipitous moment because I never really exactly know. I'm not really planning on doing it, except for maybe this original music that I write. This is something that I'm drawn to. But as far as the name of the band is the Copper Pennies. That's the 1920s jazz band that Melissa and I have together, and I play the accordion in it. And if you had asked
There's
me,
a story
when I was in
behind
high
that
school-
accordion too.
right? So that's how the band got started. Like if you had asked me in high school if you were gonna play the accordion, I would have been like, the accordion is for dweebs, and you don't even ask me, And then I took a job at the Reeves Theater here in Elkin, and the sound tech that worked there with me, one day he brought his accordion to me. He was like, "Tommy, I know you play the piano. I thought you'd like an accordion." And I was like, "You do know that those are 2 different instruments, right? Like, just because."
I know you
because
like
play the
dogs. Will you
piano
please
doesn't
take
mean
my
you play the
elephant?
accordion, right? And so it literally, it was a nice accordion. It was really nice. It's pretty old. I have no idea what year it is, but it sat in my closet for probably about 3 or 4 years, and then something happened where Melissa started really enjoying music, 1920s jazz from France, and she was like, "You have an accordion, right?" And I was like, yeah. She's like, you can play it, right? I was like, play is, that's a strong word. There's a lot of things that go into an accordion that I don't know how to do because it is a very technically challenging instrument. And throughout the years since this band has been together, I've gotten, I've figured out a lot about the accordion, but
Did you take lessons, or did you just do it all? Sorry, did you take lessons?
I didn't take any lessons, but it was, I think a little bit self-explanatory. Like the right side is a piano, yes, but you have to learn the technique of squeezing, and then you have all these buttons over here that are chords or bass notes, which that's the hard part.
I would think.
The part where it's just like
I have a pair of bagpipes. Can you imagine if you got bagpipes? That's probably the only.
I love the bagpipes.
So do I. And my name's Heather, and I've got a Scottish blood in me, and I love the bagpipes. And Dunroven wasn't Dunroven until my friend Elizabeth Malone, who is in a bagpipe marching band, came over from St. Albans, Vermont, and played her bagpipes down the Magic Wishing Path in shoes in the winter before I shoveled. I mean, the woman's brave. Well, she plays the bagpipes. She's very brave. And when you hear bagpipes played in the woods, it takes your breath away because it says something. It means something. It's a vibration. It's a frequency that just resonates so big time with me. And I was in Walmart yesterday, and there's a man in a kilt, so I went up to him and I said, "Are you a Scot? I wearing a kilt because you like the after, are you a Scot?" And, I'm a Scot. And I said, "Oh, fabulous, talk to me." And I said, and so another woman was getting green peppers, and she said, "But you don't have any bagpipes, so you can't be authentic." And he said, "I don't like the bagpipes. I hate them." Well, I don't have a kilt, but I play the bagpipes any old time if you can, because I would love that. Anyway, you know what? Yeah. Guess what? Kelby, in her infinite wisdom, which is infinite, has just told me that we have 5 minutes left. Oh, there's so much I wanted to talk about.
Time flies.
Well, friend Chris Farrell from our Facebook connection, ChrisFarrell, he was on my show last month, and I've known him since 1992 or 1991. He's in Chicago, and I sent you the link to his Zoom this coming Sunday.
Oh, this Sunday. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. Is that a link? I think, okay, I'll have to.
If he hasn't got the link, friend him and send him a message, and he'll send you the link personally. Okay, I think you have to get it personally from him. But he's so talented. You're so talented. He's been everywhere. You've been everywhere. I think somehow that would be a pretty good connection for both of you.
That's great.
He's a wonderful guy, and so are you. And I'm just so glad you and Melissa came to see me and spend those 3 days. I think the world comes to my doorstep with people like you, and I'm very fortunate. So
really nice. The feeling's mutual. When I got there, the original perk was that I get to stay in a Hobbit home, and I loved the door as we were walking in, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. And then one of the things that made it even better was getting a chance to know you and getting to figure out the lifestyle of someone that has lived in Vermont, because I'd never been to Vermont before. That was one of the first times I'd ever been there, or that was the first time I'd ever been there. And so I had really, my frame of reference was comparing it to other places. And I told you this while I was there. Vermont reminds me of, the closest thing that I can think of is it reminds me of West Virginia, which is where Melissa is from. She was born there, and we go back and we would visit her family sometimes, and we go back to a place where her mom grew up, and it's the most beautiful place in the world. It's such a gorgeous state, and the people there are the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And it's kind of, I didn't know that another place that was so nice existed until I came to Vermont, and I realized that Vermont and West Virginia are really similar in that way, where the countryside is beautiful. There's not a lot of people there, but the people that are there are just amazing and hospitable and nice. And I'm glad that my first impression of Vermont was you, because you're a very nice person, and I thank you.
Aw. Well, so are you and Melissa. And I hope to see you again. And I'll be listening to your music from now on. And I thank you so much for taking the time to be interviewed by me on Life is Good. And I'll just say to everybody who's watching Tommy Jackson, Kelby, my illustrious post-production artist, is going to put some of his music in. But you can look him up on YouTube. You can look him up when you Google his name. And Tommy Jackson is not only a wonderful musician and composer, but down-to-earth person, and someone I respect. So you will too, right? Right. So thanks for watching Life is Good. I'll see you all next week. Love you all.
Are you really gonna rock tonight?